Hello, welcome to your Friday. This is week 23. It is the 5th day of June 2020. I have so much to talk about today, so I got to jump right in there. I want to start out by saying that last week's video could have been perceived as political, controversial, any of that. I spoke about law enforcement, the senseless passing of George Floyd, and everyone who commented may have had a differing view, but was kind, which tells me we still can agree to disagree. And I welcome any comments, as long as they're not nasty. We've all seen a lot of nasty comments on Facebook. That's not what I'm trying to get here. I'm not trying to be controversial, but I am going to talk about this today. I hope you don't mind. Before I do that, I'm going to say thank you, though. Because years ago, we could agree to disagree. Let's try that again. The shout out today is going to go to corrections. What is corrections? It's jails, prisons, probation, parole, and many, many more positions that I believe are overlooked. They don't get the attention they deserve. I have so very many friends in corrections, jails, prisons, probation, parole. They carry a badge. And when I talk about law enforcement, I include them, although I may say police. Corrections does an outstanding job for us. And maybe one day I'll talk about what a corrections officer has to deal with all day. God bless them. Today, I am going to talk about something that may seem political, controversial, you name it. But I want to talk about the George Floyd case. And I want to make a couple of points and bring up a couple of definitions and tell you a story. So bear with me. My first definition is tolerance, and it is defined: the ability or willingness to tolerate something, in particular, the existence of opinions or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with. Tolerance. How much tolerance do we allow on a day-to-day basis? Individually with our friends or family or work? How much tolerance do we allow in the rioting and looting over George Floyd's passing? Next, protest. A statement or action expressing the disapproval of or objection to something. Protest. Doesn't talk about violence, mind you. Riot. A violent disturbance of the peace by a crowd. Lastly, looting. Goods, especially private property, taken from an enemy in war. When did we declare that rioting and looting was the answer to anything, any issue, or anything in life? Most of my friends and so forth, we're not violent, are we? Yet I turn on the TV and I see fires, broken glass, businesses trashed, violence against people, violence against police, even violence against protesters. What are we trying to prove here? I firmly believe in the right to protest. I welcome it. I encourage it, if done in the right way. In my opinion, it is tragic that we are not focusing on George Floyd, his family, or anything we can do to prevent such an evil act, which what the officer did was evil. Wouldn't we prefer to look for ways to change that than taking a person's business? There was an elderly lady interviewed. She said the Office Max, I believe Starbucks, and other businesses were burned. She used to walk or take the bus. The buses aren't running, and she can't walk to the business because it's gone. How does that help anything with George Floyd? If anyone has an answer, I'd love to know, because I rack my brain and I don't get it. The last thing I want to talk about is a sheriff in Michigan. His name is Christopher R. Swanson, Genesee County, again in Michigan. There were protesters, not rioters, not looters, all standing in the street. A ton of his deputies and the sheriff were there with them, took their helmets off, put their batons down. The sheriff spoke to them saying, "We want to be with you for real." What does that mean? He's on their side, right? Then he said, "And I want to make this a parade, not a protest." We know what he meant. Protest in a parade-like way. People will watch, people will note, people will affect change. So he's still standing there. The crowd starts to chant, "Walk with us, walk with us, walk with us." Sheriff went over to one of the people, gave him a hug, and they walked. And it was all over the news. Why can't we get more of that? There was also a young African-American man who went up to the biggest cop in a crowd of officers and hugged him. Turned around and said to the rioters, pointing at a police officer, "Did he kill someone?" Another officer, "Did he kill someone?" He turned to the rioters and said, "If a black man does something illegal, does that mean all black men do things illegal?" What a point. He had a shirt that said "Free Hugs." This is how we make a difference. This is how we enact change. This is what we need to do. We need more prominent figures to stand up and say, "Stop the rioting. You're destroying this country." That's my view. If someone can tell me how rioting and looting makes any sense, please do it. But if you don't agree with me, please be kind about it and let's have some sort of a debate. I welcome it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm accurate. I'm just saying this is what I don't get. The last thing I'm going to leave you with today. Years and years ago, there was a saying that went around. There were bracelets made, t-shirts made, and they simply said, "What would Jesus do?" In my opinion, Jesus would not encourage rioting. He would encourage a protest. Make a change. Be the change. Show the change. On that, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, a wonderful week next week. God bless you and every one of us out here. Have a great one. Thanks for watching. See you later. Again, it doesn't work.